I completely agree. There's a lot of people out there on social media asking for, Poch to be sacked, um, saying that he was never the man for the job to get us back up to the top four or to win the league. Now, sorry, excuse me. Did I think he could win the league? Not with this squad. Sorry. Do I think he has potential to win the league? Maybe. I've never been fully satisfied with this squad. Even the sort of the fans that are coming out on social media and saying, well, all right, if you get rid of him, who are you going to get? You know, they're all sort of saying that the squad is not good enough. And I think that for me is the key thing here. We've said it before. I know I have. We are lacking quality, but I think we're also lacking leadership and we're lacking experience. Um, you know, when you're in those situations, those big games, who is it that we really look at to pull us out? At the moment, we're talking about Cole Palmer. He's been brilliant for us. He's been a great signing, but the guy's 21. I don't think that should really be in the Premier League. I don't think that should be the player that we should be resting our hopes on. No offense to him. I just feel like there should be a bigger, more experienced player. And it's not necessarily about quality, but I do think definitely in this case, it's certain players could do with more quality. But with regards to Palmer, he's got the quality, but he's 21. He doesn't have that experience to being the main man. And I think it's a role that he can definitely grow into. But for that, he needs support and he needs guidance and he needs leadership. He needs experienced players around him. And following on from the manager talk, the five managers that we've been linked with are Zidane, De Zerbi, Hansi Flick. I must say Zidane and Hansi Flick are both available. Neither one of them are with a club at the moment.
Mm.
Um, Ruben Amorim, who is the Sporting Lisbon manager, and Jose Mourinho. I mean, even some of the other fans have said, you know what? I don't think Pep Guardiola could do well with this squad. And I think that's actually a valid point to a certain degree. Pep struggled within his first season at City and he had to reshape it, bring in the players that he wanted. And, you know, he brought also an experience. Um, I mean, just off the top of your head from the managers I've read out. I mean, I know we both don't know Ruben Amorim, but we know the other four. I can't see De Zerbi doing amazing with that squad. Zidane has only really managed Madrid on like two occasions, and let's face it, the Madrid team that he inherited was a ridiculously good team. Hansi Flick's got his accolades, but again, you look at the teams that he's managed. He's managed Germany for a very short period of time. He did well with Bayern Munich, but you look at the experience that they had. The team have been together for a long time. And as much as I love Mourinho also liked having experienced players and, a lot of leadership within the team. Again, that's something that we're lacking. So I struggle to see if we get rid of Pochettino, what that actually does as a benefit. I mean, he's only on a 2-year contract anyway, which I didn't realize. I thought he was on a longer one. Um, and then again, it's again having a new manager come in a short space of time who needs to somehow pull a rabbit out of a hat with a bunch of players that aren't playing well as it is, and we haven't seen that they can play well together yet, realistically. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, I don't know where Hansi Flick was before Bayern.
He was with the German national side. He left Bayern to go to the German national side.
No, but where was he before he got the Bayern job?
Oh, I see what you mean. No, I don't. Sorry, yeah, sorry.
I thought part of me thinks he might have been a coaching staff for a youth team or something, like within the club before he got that job, but I don't
That
know.
does sound familiar. That does sound familiar.
A lot of them, I mean, you're looking at a very weird situation in that obviously a lot of these top managers aren't managers that took teams that were struggling
Oh,
and built something from very little. A lot of these managers have gone to teams that were close to winning things for whatever reason, weren't winning things, but sort of had the quality and needed that little bit of edge and gave them that little bit of edge. Or in Hansi Flick's case, that Bayern team was phenomenal. Um,
They were always there and thereabouts in the Champions League. Let's face it.
and the thing that worries me with Hansi Flick is that Germany team is in a similar case to where we are, where they've got a fairly good squad with a reasonable number of players that are good at football and have massively underperformed. So I don't see a lot of signs of Hansi Flick turning things around.
Well, on that, I've heard a report that he has been approached to see if he wants to take the job for 6 months.
Great.
Again, it's a report. You never know. You never know if it's true or not. But yeah.
You're right with Jose Mourinho. He wants experienced players, and you're right, we don't have that.
Well,
So I
we have a
don't think
few, but most of them are injured.
we've got like three players. I mean, bear in mind, Jose Mourinho, when he won things, has barely played players at the age of 21 or below, and that's half our fucking squad.
Yeah.
With that Inter team, I don't think anyone was under the age of 30. There's
or
the
close
bloke
enough
likes
to, or they were
experience.
close enough to 30. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
the
were
bloke
they were in
likes
their prime. They're like
experience.
27, 28 and above.
Yeah, and you generally you buy Jose Mourinho. You get Jose Mourinho in when you've got right. We've got 2 years left of this team. We
Yeah.
might need a couple of extra pieces, but we've got a pretty good shot here with this team. Let's get Jose Mourinho in to try and get us over the line and give us that edge. That's where he's succeeded generally. Zidane, he's a bit of an oddball because you just don't know. Where he has just really had the Real Madrid job, done absolute wonders with them. That a team that generally kind of probably underperformed for them when he wasn't around in the years sort of around him. But the quality difference, you're right, is drastic. Where he's got sort of Ronaldo's, he's got Modric's, he's got Cruz,
Tony
he's got
Cruz,
Benzema.
Pepe's, Ramos. Yeah.
So the pieces were there, which you're right, we don't have. We need a proper coach of someone that is gonna bring players through. And I think you end up going, it's probably too early now. And there's not a fucking chance in hell that he'd one, want the job, or two, want to leave at the minute where he is. But you are more looking at probably Xabi Alonso sort of in 2 years' time where he sort of had more time, builds a team that's not okay with a lot of young players in it into a great team. He's got Bayer Leverkusen playing out their absolute skin.
Agreed. Yeah.
And it's sort of a manager like that, but we keep going for managers in that vein of that's what Potter should have been. And as soon as we start getting somewhere, we then think, right, we should now, because we win a few games on the trot, we think we should be winning every week again now. And then we sack the manager, and you go, we were getting somewhere there. You could see it sort of somewhat coming together, and all the missing pieces is we're not putting the fucking ball in the net, which there's not a lot they can do about it. The chances are there, the possession's there, the style of plays looking better, and you get to this point and you go, yeah, but we're not winning games. It's been 9 months, and we've had a consistent problem of the ball not going in the net. And at a certain point, you go, manager is not going to necessarily fix that.
No. And this is where I think again, we have to remind ourselves that our owners are new to football. You can't run a football team, or to put it in the American term, a soccer team, the way that you would run an NFL team, an MLB team, or a basketball team, which I believe they're involved with basketball and Major League Baseball. It's completely different. And I think a lot of the responsibility does need to fall on them with regards to who they've decided to bring in, because let's face it, some of it is their choices in terms of players, the management style. I feel like we need, for me, I've said it before, I think, we need a manager that has experience, um, who's got respect, who's a winner, but also can help the board, shape the club in terms of how it needs to be run, how it needs to be looked at. They tried to get some execs, but I think, none of them from me for me have really come from big experienced clubs. No offense to them.
I do think as Chelsea fans, we do need to start taking the squad position away from the manager in terms of how we judge the manager. I think we have to realise that one, we've not got a number of players that have been key for us when we were good, in
Yeah,
terms of Reece James and Chilwell, that were key players for us the last time we were successful and haven't really been playing since. And while Gusto has been fantastic, we haven't had a similar thing on the left back side. Cucurella has been okay at times this season, but last year was a shambles. Obviously, missing Nkunku's big. He's someone
again,
that people have been pinning hopes on. I know he wasn't the most expensive player that we signed, but he's the most experienced attacker that we've signed outside of Sterling. He's the most effectively promising from a world opinion of players that we have in the squad. He's one of the ones that people outside of Chelsea will get excited about as well. So I think obviously we're missing KP. I do think that if we have Reece James, Chilwell, and Kunku all match fit playing week in, week out,
it makes a difference.
I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if you're rotating Gusto in there at left and right back, I think he does a fantastic job on either side.
I've been so impressed with him. I really have. Like, for me, the two signings that I actually admit I think have been quality is Palmer and Gusto.
Hmm.
I don't think anyone can say anything negative about those two signings. The others,
Yeah, for what we paid for them, definitely. So I'm constantly in this just middle of the road, hoping that it kind of works. Of just at some point, hopefully, we get a position where we've got 3 injuries or 4 injuries,
yeah,
where you go, right, this is pretty much the full squad, everyone's fit. Have a go at it now, Poch. Give it a good go. See what we can do with your main keys playing and fit, ready. And at the minute, it feels like one, he's got one arm tied behind his back, and two, he's still not that far away. On the basis that if we put the chances away, we start winning games, or like we win games if we put the chances away. We've had games where for whatever reason we've just been clinical in front of goal. Main one I'm thinking of is City, where
yeah.
we were just unbelievable in front of goal, and everything else was like okay.
It's the first one that came to my
Well,
mind as well.
and it's like I don't I don't know whether it's a mentality thing for the players. I don't know whether it's a when other teams sit back, the chances are fewer and far between, or they're just worse chances, or what it is that means we don't take them. But it, I just fundamentally don't think you can put it all on the manager. It's
No, I agree. It's definitely not an all the manager. Like we said, it's not like you've got that Real Madrid squad with a manager. They've not played well, so then they then brings it down back. Do you know what I mean? It's not that level of squad. It's nowhere near that level of squad. It's not a squad anywhere near City's. I think it's still below par to Liverpool's, unfortunately. Um, I think with a fully fit squad, we are definitely closer. You're right. We're definitely closer to the top four, and we would be playing better. We wouldn't have let in anywhere near more goals, and hopefully we would have seen out a few more games.
I think that's more of our problem actually. I think we've made far too many individual mistakes at the back.
Yeah,
I think when we concede goals, a lot of the time it is pointing to an individual mistake, a slip, something that is problematic and always going to cause you problems.
yeah,
Some of it is the system where we've got certain players in there that probably shouldn't be playing a system like that.
yeah,
Visibly, I'm looking at you, mate, where
yeah. I was thinking that.
nervy on the ball, similar with Sanchez. Petrovic is okay, but doesn't fill me with confidence. And you go, that's where you kind of blame the manager. But at the same time, how do you get the player that can play that way? And how do you get everyone playing that way if you're not showing the board that, one, we don't have the player that can play this way, and two, how do you get everyone ready to play that system and slot that player in if they're not playing that system? So while it does feel like throwing certain players to the wolves, you just kind of go, well, this is the way that most managers, to be fair, will play with this squad, with trying to play out from the back and whatever else. I don't think he's doing anything drastically wrong compared to what 90% of managers will do, except for like you bring Big Sam in, he'll stick Nicholas Jackson Broyer up top with maybe Thiago Silva and just go, well, hoof it fucking long. But most managers these days are going to be trying to play a similar style to what Poch is playing, what Tuchel was playing, what Potter was trying to play. Maybe not what Frank was trying to play, because not entirely sure what that was.
Is that sorry on that? Is that the second stint or the first stint?
Second stint, I think
Yeah, fair, fair.
first stint was a little bit different, but he likes his 4-2-3-1. Second stint, it was just like couldn't really understand what the fuck was going on there. Completely off topic, but I think in the first stint, Frank was unlucky because he wanted to play a specific style of play, and we didn't have a squad that could play that. We had a first 11 and a couple of subs that could play that, and a few key players got injured, and a lot of chances fell to Werner when he was not playing well and not scoring. That meant we lost a lot of games that we should have won.
I still think he did brilliantly in that first stint. To be honest, especially that first season, I thought he did great.
Yeah, I don't think tactically he is as astute as he needs to be a top manager.
Yeah, agreed.
He is one that brings in players that play in a style of play that works for him, and he's very good at bringing players in. If he has sort of an unlimited budget, I think he could put a decent squad together that plays in the way that he plays, and that it would have to be an unbelievable top team, effectively it would be a similar version to City, where he's got a load of players that all play in the same formation.
Yeah.
I think you could do, because
Yeah.
at a certain point you might get found out, but you've got players that can bail you out of a situation. He's not tactically astute enough to manage an Everton or whatever that will have to play differently in different weeks and adapt to certain situations more. They can't sort of, we'll play our own game and we'll beat you because we're better at our own game than you are at yours.
No, absolutely.
The reports that I've read and seen is that there's a strong belief that between a fully fit Nkunku and a top quality striker that in theory we're buying, that will change things. And I think there is an argument to say that could be the case, depending on who we bring in. I think you stick Diego Costa in that team and you go, okay, like the Diego Costa that we had, you go, we've got a shot here. Put a striker that can create a goal on their own. I'm not sure who you go out and get that is that. I don't know Osman well enough. We're talking about a striker paying 80 odd million for a striker that's playing for Coventry less than a year ago.
It's mental.
Doesn't sound like it's clever.
Well, again, it's like learning from our mistakes. Like looking at who we've brought in and the price that we've paid. I'm going that shouldn't be the case. Like, just go out and get the best striker you can possibly get. Pay whatever you have to do. I mean, it might be Osman comes in the summer, but if that's the case, then and that's the player that we want, then go get him. Like,
I don't think it makes sense. I don't think the Italian league translates. I don't think it's ever been.
I agree.
I don't think the Portuguese league translates in an attacking sense. I don't know any that have come directly from the Portuguese league. The German league has never really worked. Off the top of my head, Dzeko is the best export, and City fans didn't really like him much. I think he was
Who was that? Sorry,
Dzeko.
Yeah, I quite liked him though, to be fair.
I think he's a great finisher, but the ball bounced off him a lot from what
Mm.
they said. So they didn't like him particularly. The only one that seems to ever come in and hit the ground running is La Liga.
Yeah,
Again, it's not a surefire thing, but I think that's the only one where regularly you see Fernando Torres come straight from there and go firing.
Aguero.
Aguero, I'm not sure how quickly he started firing, but he's obviously been an elite striker from there. Costa
Negredo.
came in immediately was firing.
Who was that? Sorry.
Costa.
Yep.
Um, so there's a number of them that have come in and immediately started firing. French league, I don't know whether it's just Chelsea have struggled, but I don't really remember any in recent times from the French league that's come in and started firing. Like Giroud was a 30-goal season striker in the French league.
I was gonna say he's the first one that comes to my mind.
Didn't correlate. Shamak, there's been a number of ones in the French league, although not recently. Obviously, if you go and buy Mbappe, probably that is the exception that proves the rule more than anything. But to be honest, I really struggle to think of strikers in world football that you go, if we buy him, 90% chance that this bloke is going to be absolutely mustard.
No, I agree.
Like obviously you go, oh, Haaland would change us, but like we're not getting. There's
No,
not a
you're
chance.
not going to get Haaland. Well, we're not going to get Haaland, I should say. But again, this is why. This is why, if you were to ask me who do I want to get in as a striker, I would be doing everything I possibly could to get like Ivan Toney or Ollie Watkins. They're the two that really come to my head. Where, and I wanted them in the summer. This was obviously before the Ivan Toney thing actually happened, I think, or during. And I said, well, all right, fair enough. But if he was available, I'd still go for him. And I think Ollie Watkins again, he could do a great job for us. There's probably a couple of other players, but they're the two that have always stuck in my head. Maybe Isak from Newcastle, but again, all three of those players, it's going to be tough to get, especially with
He's
our.
like injury prone and a better
There
team.
is that. You are right. You are right. I mean, the fact that we
Watkins,
were close to signing Gordon, and everyone was like, "What's going on?" And actually, he's done so well at Newcastle, even as a striker. But
yeah,
if I had to choose any two strikers to choose from, it'd be Tony or Watkins. Granted, I know it's easier said than done.
Watkins I really rate. I just don't think. I think he will have similar problems to what our strikers have at the minute. In the
Yeah,
way
not
that
as
he
much
plays, he wants
though.
to run off the back, and he wouldn't get the service necessarily. I
Well,
think Tony has more to his game and is better at bringing other players into play.
Tony would be my preferred
Yeah,
choice, but everyone talks about him going to Arsenal, and
yeah.
I don't blame him because of where they are and the type of team that they are at the moment. They are definitely a lot more solid. Um, I agree with what you're saying about Watkins, although I'd say I don't think it would be as bad as the strikers that we have at the moment. But my only concern is at the end of the day, if we're going to bring in, say, a Tony or even an Osman, if we can't get the service right, which we have struggled to do at times, up to 50% of our problem, I would say, is service, not fully, but just below 50%. Then there's no point bringing in a striker as well. So that for me
But
is a
no,
slightly worrying point as well.
I think my problem with Watkins is not that he wouldn't get the service. I think it's he wouldn't get the service that he wants.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying, like hypothetically speaking, even if we were to bring in a striker that would work for us and it would be a good fit, or even if they did spend the money and they brought in Osman, again, I like him, but I'm not convinced that he's going to be the right player for us at this time.
Mm.
If we're not getting the good, like you said, in this game, Middlesbrough, the balls kept going over the top, past Broja, who's the tallest man in the front line, and going to Sterling. Well, you want it to go to your striker. Sterling's not going to get it. So if the balls and of if the quality of the ball is not that good going into the main man, then it's always going to be a struggle as well. And as we've said, the wingers aren't creating an awful lot. Unfortunately, it has been predominantly Cole Palmer. And Enzo does try a few balls over the top, to be fair to him. And since he's come back from his most recent injury, he's definitely doing that more and more. And that's the other thing. I don't actually know what type of striker we need that would fit the way that we play, whatever that is.
The more I think about it, the more I'm sold on Tony.
I think we need to throw everything at Tony.
I think he'll stay at Brentford at least at the end of the season.
He has said he wants to thank them and be loyal to them
Yeah.
for everything that they've done, which I get. But
And also it takes out the risk if he comes back and he's flying for Brentford, increase
yeah,
the price or whatever. Yeah, we need a striker that can do both. We need a striker that can both run in behind and can also hold the ball up, bring other people into play, and find that pass.
yeah,
Um, for whatever game and whatever the situation needs, and is also an elite finisher. I do think a lot of the delivery and points will come away a little bit once Reece James and Chilwell are fit. One, because they're good at crossing the ball, and two, because they they make runs that mean that it's not constantly a 2-on-1 on the winger.
yeah.
So the winger will have more space to put in a decent ball. And I think that will help things, especially if we've got both of them. Because also Chilwell's useful at the back post, and he's an option at the
He
back
is.
post when he
Well, to be
runs.
fair, they're both useful in and around the box.
Um, so
If they it's
yeah, I
if
think,
they get fit, if they stay
yeah,
fit, it's my problem.
but yeah, it gives you another option at the back post, and it gives you a relatively elite crosser. I would say an elite crosser for Reece James, and I think Chilwell is very good. Both of them hit the ball very well and can score goals if they've got some space in the box. So I think they are huge misses for us.
Well, we said that the first time they both got injured at the same time, which was what, 2 years ago, 2 and a bit years
Yeah,
ago. So
yeah. I would like to see us with a striker that is confident and it makes good runs, and gets that space, which I think Nkunku can be. Like when he was fit, he was making runs at the front post, making a lot of runs, making him available, and almost sort of getting there, and then got his headed goal. And if
no,
we can
I
get
I
in and
agree.
around the box, I think he's going to be, even with not great service, he'll get on the end of a few, and he might make something happen. Um, but we just need to get the bloke match fit and hopefully and give him the support that he needs. I'm not sure I'd play him as a striker on his own, and then you start having other problems in terms of who's the one that supports him, whether it's a Brody or a Jackson, sort of later in the season once he's back, is the main striker, and then Nkunku sort of has a free role in behind and nips in and does what he needs to do, or whether it is him up front and then you just get Cole Palmer close to him. I don't know what the answer is, but I think he definitely will need someone close to him to bring into play. And if he is in a similar position that Jackson's been in all season, where he looks very isolated and there's no one really like getting up forward and close to him, you end up running with the same problems that we've had all season, where finally getting the ball, but there's not a hell of a lot he can do with it. And then he's got to try and give it off and get back in the box and hope he can be the one player in the box against 3 defenders or 4 defenders and find a goal, which maybe he's capable of, but he's not going to be capable of it every single game. It's going to take an element of luck.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. He is someone to watch for the future if we can get him to the levels and the heights that he was playing at Leipzig, especially if he stays fit. And ideally I'd still have another striker playing with him rather than the ones that we have. No offense to them.